I've had a lot of people asking me about the Christianity Today announcement that they are calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. And I'm actually glad that it's happened. And I'll tell you why in a second. But first, there's this story here about Franklin Graham, because Christianity Today was started by Billy Graham. And they, of course, use his name as an authoritative brand reference for the integrity of their message. And Franklin said something interesting. He wrote today, "Yes, my father, Billy Graham, founded Christianity Today, but no, he would not agree with their opinion piece. In fact, he would be very disappointed." And he goes on to say, "I've not previously shared who my father voted for in the past election, but because of this article, I feel it's necessary to share it now. My father knew Donald Trump, he believed in Donald Trump, and he voted for Donald Trump. He believed Donald Trump was the man for this hour in the history of our nation. The great intercessor, at 98, 99 years of age, goes on to be with the Lord, and he believed his last prayers were being answered. It's almost like Simeon going through the temple and handling Jesus saying, 'Now let thy servant depart in peace, for I've seen the wrecking ball.'" Anyway, what a dingling thing for Christianity Today. It doesn't surprise me, because I get their magazine, and I'm always like doing this face plant, like I'm just slapping my face going, what in the world? They write crazy stuff, and I'm reading it, and I'm going, what's going on with them? Because they're like immigration. Well, then I'm thinking, there's got to be more to this. So all I do is Google Christianity Today, George Soros. You know, I'm kind of suspicious that way. It's part of my part of the Jewish in me. And what do I come up with? Well, I come up with, what in the world? Remember that Christianity Today is backed by George Soros. I'm reading this from the Pulpit and Pen organization. So check this out. Christianity Today, backed by Soros. What's the Soros connection? Well, let's see. The wealthy billionaire Democrat financier rents evangelicals. It's called Rent an Evangelical. Now, that doesn't mean they don't agree with him. They do. That's what makes it so sad. But Soros rents his evangelicals because he really wanted to split the evangelical camp, which is 80% behind Trump, because even at our worst, we're only 20% deluded. So Christianity Today is in cahoots with Soros in a verifiably documented way. It should come as no surprise they're calling for Trump's impeachment, the article says. And it has to do with their immigration plan. They were promoting George Soros' immigration plan. You know, the open borders thing. We already have, according to MIT, 20 million illegals in the country. The Democrats are desperate to get them voting rights because, you know, they're willing to pack the Supreme Court, abolish the Electoral College, or open up the borders. Any way they can get power. And the knuckleheads at Christianity Today go and endorse Soros' plan. Well, I should have known then something was going on. But so they're promoting the Soros immigration plan, and basically evangelicals should help Soros, they're saying. So the immigration plan is promoted at the evangelical immigration table. Yes, the evangelical immigration table. There's a mouthful, which is a Soros front organization of the National Immigration Forum, which is ultimately traced directly back to Soros' Open Societies Foundation, which I believe Giuliani in September was complaining about Soros' involvement through his foundations in the Ukraine. I wonder if any of that $1 billion that Joe Biden gave that quid pro quo, statement where he spoke, to where the heck was it? It wasn't. I was going to say the Federal Society. But that's obviously not the case. It was Council on Foreign Relations, I think, and where Biden was bragging in that classic way that he does when he talks about his corn pop moments of masculine hubris. And he said how he gave them an ultimatum. You want $1 billion from our administration? You better fire that prosecutor who's who's checking out Barista, I think it is. Anyway, so that's the name of the organization, the energy company, that just coincidentally happened to have hired his son and was giving him like, I don't know, he walked off with buku bucks, like, I don't know, like $1 million or something. The point is, Biden was bragging about the fact that they came to an awakening within an hour. That prosecutor was fired. They got their $1 billion. Where did that $1 billion go, one might ask? I would ask that. Well, I think it went through the ambassador's channels, the ambassador who was anti-Trump, spoke against Trump and got fired by Trump. And I think that ambassador with Biden in the lead was dispersing that to NGOs. NGOs, let some diligent reporter out there check it out. Was open society foundations, were any of their NGOs recipients of the $1 billion that came through Obama into the Ukraine? You know that Soros got kicked out of Hungary. Since he's a Hungarian Jew, that makes you wonder. But Viktor Orban didn't want any more meddling in their. You see, because these billionaires are trying to shape politics all over the world, whether it's the Ukraine or whether it's Hungary, and certainly the United States. So back we come. What's this advertisement here? Don't look at this. Don't look at this. But it's a pop-up ad somewhere. Anyway, it's so the main story is that we've got the Soros connection there. And oh, by the way, now this is for real. With the immigration table, Soros owns the Evangelical Immigration Table, the EIT. Was so well known that it wasn't worth answering any ill-informed dispute of the knowledge. Well-known Christian leader, my buddy there, Eric Metaxas, got off the board and repudiated it when he found out he was on the board of a Soros-funded organization. Well, I'll bet you there's a lot of people that don't like Trump in the evangelical community who get a check written for them by a donor. See, that's how it happens, the money. Well, I'm not saying they're doing this for money. I really think they're sincerely antagonistic to Donald Trump. I don't think they believe in Soros' immigration. I believe they're sincere about what they believe. I believe they're sincere to the point of being like liberal progressives are sincere. So, I mean, every Antifa member, I'm sure, is sincere. But look at this. I'm reading an article that Ben Shapiro had said, hey, ain't no surprise. This is an Orthodox Jew. Ain't no surprise. Christianity today has been liberal for a long time. It's been to the left. And that's the whole point of what Franklin Graham said. Franklin Graham basically, he called them out. And listen to what Franklin said. Let me just, before I go to the next piece of evidence, to the many evangelicals who continue to support, no, that's them, Mr. Trump, in spite of his blackening character. Here we go. Here it is. Mr. Graham went on to call the editorial totally partisan and unfathomable in its attack on the president. Christianity Today said it's time to call a spade, he wrote. Well, the spade is this. Christianity Today has been used by the left for their political agenda. Woo! It's obvious that Christianity Today has moved to the left and is representing the elitist liberal wing of evangelicalism. It's like the extraterrestrial evangelical liberal wing. That's why President Trump probably put ET instead of CT in his tweet. Because they've been taken over, folks, by extraterrestrials. So now back to the quote I started. Let me do diligence here. To the many evangelicals who continue to support Mr. Trump in spite of his blackened moral record, we might say this. Remember who you are and whom you serve, editor Mark Galli wrote. Consider how your justification of Mr. Trump influences your witness to our Lord and our Savior. Well, I do consider how my justification of Mr. Trump influences my witness, and I dare say that I'm continuing to own the fact that I'm an enlightened Christian who sees Donald Trump as a wrecking ball to the spirit of political correctness and the great obstruction to the progressive agenda that wants to remake America in the image of various other failed Marxist experiments. So, having said that, I got this article here. So I wanted to read about this, Mark, because a friend of mine was actually going to try to get us together. I can't believe this. Such a coincidence. Such a strange, surreal, cosmic universe I live in. And he said, I want you to meet the guy next week. I'll gladly meet him. I mean, if he checks me out, he'll see this. What to make of Donald Trump's soul, he says ever so piously in 2017. So they've been against Trump from the beginning. The point is, Christianity Today is a leftist evangelical, and the Soros Democrats have gotten in. I'm telling you something. They've gotten into big money, and it compromises the witness of strong conservatives in many ways, because that money makes them bow the knee to Baal. It has been customary to give a new president 100 days before evaluating his administration, but these guys couldn't wait. They just jumped right in. And what's so weird about his article is that he says he may be a political and moral enemy for many of our readers. Can you imagine Christianity Today saying that? He may be a political and moral enemy. The guy's just got in, and he's a political and moral, he's a moral enemy? Did you ever write that about the Obama era or anyone else? Of course not. But this is all the more reason we're called to love and pray. I love the mingled piety that they engage as they make broad their phylacteries, as the King James says. To love such a man surely includes challenging the policies and moral tenor of his administration. Well, yeah, no kidding, Sherlock Holmes. And you should be looking at what the Horowitz report just said about Comey, doctoring up FISA warrants and lying in order to spy on an American citizen, Carter Page, who they knew was actually involved with the CIA. He was actually working on our side. Brennan knew that. Now, Brennan's under criminal investigation by John Durham. Well, we could have predicted that. Actually, I did predict that. So anyway, which of course they're going to say is Trump going after his political enemies, using the institutions of government to persecute his enemies. Predictable. All right, so here we go. Some believe that Trump is a baby Christian. It's making his way in the faith. Well, actually, I think he was led to the Lord at least 3 times that I know of. I got 3 evangelists that prayed with him. I prayed with my dad 3 times. I love these guys, Trump, and my father, my dear father who died at the age, actually, it's the month after Billy Graham, 99 years of age. And I was worried about my dad's soul. It's kind of like Trump, coming in because he was a bit rough. And but here's picking on the guy, and he actually prayed with evangelicals after he got in. He thought he was a Christian before, just like Christianity Today thinks they're being Christian now. But anyway, I prayed with my dad. I prayed with him 1 time, prayed with him twice. I prayed with him a 3rd time because my children came back from Grandpa's house and they saw he had Playboy magazines. And then they said, "Daddy, you sure Grandpa's saved?" And I thought, oh gosh, what's my dad doing? So I call my dad up. I go, "Dad, it's not the Playboy man. It's just generally comments you were making around the kids. It just didn't sound like you have any belief." And so I prayed with him a 3rd time. And I prayed the sinner's prayer, as we evangelicals do so dutifully. And I said, "Dad, did you mean that?" I'll never forget this quote. He said, "Well, damn it, I wouldn't have prayed it if I didn't mean it." So you see, there's a certain type of person who might come into, remember that thief on the cross? Remember me when you come into the kingdom? And Jesus said, "This day you'll be with me in paradise." That wasn't exactly a good sinner's prayer. Just remember me. But it got him into heaven. So I don't know what the heck is with these guys, but Trump was just in, and right away, they're sitting there beating up on him. And but what really bothered me is he's cheering on the late night comedians. He's talking about the late night comedians who are just savaging Donald Trump. And it's so good for us to have in a democracy the ability to take the pressure off of politics. But I even think there's so much he's providing them. I wonder if it's good for the nation. Oh, yes, you're sitting there listening to Steve Colbert, you're listening to these comedians and yuck, yuck, yuck all night because you agree with their spirit. Oh, here it is. Yes, right. He says, "We note this especially among late-night comedians who delight in mocking Trump's every misstep to the reward of soaring television ratings. Humor is a divine gift designed in part to relieve unbearable tension, which today is at a breaking point politically. So these comedians play an important role in a democracy." Well, Christianity Today is Christianity Astray. I got that from these guys here at the pulpit, whatever that organization is I just quoted. Oh, where is it? Anyway, so, Brennan. I remember Brennan, look at him. Here he is. Even the New York Times, even the failing New York Times, as the president says, is forced to cover the fact that Durham is scrutinizing the ex-CIA director's role in the Russian interference findings. Yeah, no kidding. He was part of the genius that worked with, I think it's going to come out, John McCain, to get that document to Comey. so that Comey could get a hold of it, to go to the president, so that he could get in front of the president, so that he could say, well, I showed it to the president, so that it could be leaked to his buddy Clapper, who was over at CNN, so that they could get the exclusive. The president's been shown the document of potential blackmail held against him by Russia. Woo! And then they bless the nation. I'm sorry to say this, but do not forget, Christianity Today, your buddies in the Democratic Party were the ones who just blessed the whole globe with the accusation that Donald Trump hired prostitutes to urinate on his bed. Well, that's what you call, and you're calling Donald Trump out for his for agitating your delicate puritanical sensibilities, and you're endorsing the policy and the platform of the PP-gate people? Shocking. What to make of Donald Trump's soul, they piously say. Anyway, this poor guy John. I think God's going to actually. It's going to be a tough year, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be tough. You that are thinking it's a shoo-in for Donald Trump, don't think that for a moment. You remember after the Kavanaugh hearings, the savaging that guy went through? Apart from a miracle, he wouldn't even have got in. He went through that, and I remember people saying, well, this is just going to torque up the base for the midterms. Let me tell you something. The left is going to beat us in their turnout. I've already got the data. They're going to beat us if we don't wake up, which is why I'm glad this happened. Because I think the church is the undecided vote in the United States. I know that 80% of registered evangelicals that do voted for Trump. We got 30 million out there that did not vote. 30 million. Half of them are not registered. The other half are registered and don't vote. 30 million knuckleheads out there that are sitting on the deck of the Titanic. They know what is prophetically on the horizon for America. And instead of looking out for icebergs, they're sitting down. Well, let's just say they're engaging in their escapist conspiracy theories and listening to fictitious prophetic insights. But they're not voting. How dumb is that? Anyway, so we got to fix that. That's why I'm doing this broadcast right now. So I'm going to hit it all year long. We have to, and it's going to be interesting. So the prosecutor, John Durham, is looking into the XCI director's Brennan role in the hoax. Yeah, I just told you Clapper released the news to CNN after Comey called him. Comey said, I did it. What did he do? The dirty deed. I put the document in front of the president. The document had no validity, but it was important to get it out there to the New York Times and the rest of the fake news media that the president's looking at this. He's now been brought to his attention. What's been brought to his attention? Oh, that somebody says that they got the goods on him in Russia. Well, the whole thing was fake. Degraded and fake. Anyway, so the thing I want you to remember is that Franklin Graham has gone on the record. And Franklin's made his comments known. His father voted for Donald Trump. Christianity Today has now become a piece of the left. And those of you that have those Christianity subscriptions, you should know the Christian Post is evidently beating Christianity Today in subscriptions because they actually support the president. Well, there you have it. I want you to share this vigorously. Share it in the season of the holidays, since Christianity Today is, by the way, this their environmental agenda. They didn't like Trump because of his position on immigration and the environment. And the environment, of course, the environment, they like the Paris Peace Accords. No, the Paris Climate Accords. Paris Climate Accords, that's right. So they're into the Paris, climate deal, which nobody ever really thinks that thing through because China and India are the main problem in terms of the carbon footprint, and nobody's actually, why don't they just get bold and take on China and India? See how far that goes. Anyway, this is the news update I wanted to give you, and I look forward. Yeah, I did hang a wreath, Mercedes. I hung a wreath. Actually, my wife hung the wreath. My wife hung the wreath because I was complaining. We didn't have enough we didn't have enough Christmas stuff. And I decorated the house 2 years ago. Let that be a warning, men. If you ever take on the responsibility of decorating the house for Christmas, it becomes assumed you're going to do it all the time. But I'm gonna join my wife and we're gonna redo this. We're gonna do the thing upright, and so we can have the festive spirit. I love Christmas. Matter of fact, I think I should do like an evening every night. I should do like a little Christmas reflection. I saw my friend Gordon Pennington did this. He's got a fireside chat going there, and his eggnog and a little Christian reflection. I think it's a great idea. But I had to take care of this Christianity Today nonsense. And when I heard Billy Graham's son come out, and then Billy Graham voted for Trump. Ha, 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 can you believe it? Because, they don't talk about that stuff. But it's just perfect timing, as far as I'm concerned. And, let's see. That's all the news I wanted to give you right now, except for, let's see. Roger Stone, poor Roger Stone. Guy's locked up for life for basically doing something which is not as bad as what Comey did in falsifying FISA warrants to go after an American citizen who was innocent, who he knew was actually involved with the CIA, Carter Page. Ruined the man's life, ruined General Flynn's life, and the information is out now. I don't see Christianity Today feeling a sense of appropriate injustice over this. What's the matter with those guys? Poor Michael Flynn. The evidence is out now. They doctored the evidence on that. They doctored the data on that. And so the guy is, they don't care how many lies they destroy because they're in this ruinous crusade to destroy Donald Trump. And I pray right now for President Donald Trump, because this is a wounding to a man who's working as hard as he is without asking for compensation, doing it because he believes in America and loves America. This guy has 90% approval. I don't care what they say out there in the crazy Democrat land. He has 90% approval from Republicans. And the reason why he got the popular vote is because he irritated, and forgive my cussing, he pissed off the rhino Republicans, because he said that the globalism and the trade that was going on with these other nations was gutting the American infrastructure and killing industry, so that Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the Rust Belt doesn't have manufacturing. And it's there because Obama and the Democrats and Republicans, who all feather their nests with money, were allowing a trade disparity to exist, where we were being competed against in an unfair way and losing not only hundreds of billions of dollars, but losing the jobs. Now, for the first time, we have a 5% wage increase and an increase in the number of people employed in the United States. 1 million people have jobs that never had it. And what do these left-wing nuts want to do? They want to reverse that. They want to reverse it and put us into an economic depression. Well, that's depressing to me. But what's more depressing is the 30 million. And you go ahead. You got friends of yours. Next time you're in your little tete-a-tete there with them talking about conspiracy theories, ask them if they're registered to vote. If they're registered to vote, or where did they register to vote? And if you moved your state, you got to register again. We got to take care of this problem. All right. That's my opinion. These ideas are not the views of any organization, not even the ones that I have. They're the views of me. Me, and I think I have the mind of the Lord. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.